So, sampling streams is relatively easy. You can just step right in and take your sample. Sampling lakes is a different kettle of fish. It's obviously the depth is a factor, and you need to find ways to get to the bottom of things. So, today we're going to be using a dredge to reach the bottom of Lake Champlain and take our sample. The type of dredge that we're using is called a Ponard dredge, and we're going to drop it in, take our sample, and I'll show you how to do it safely and get yourself a good sample. One of the most important things to do before you toss an expensive piece of equipment into a lake is to make sure that the line is securely attached to a hard surface such as a dock or the side of your boat, and the other end should be securely tied to that piece of equipment. Once your line is securely attached to the dock, the next thing to do is to pile it up such that when you throw the equipment into the lake, the line is coming off the top of the pile, and make sure that those loops are not in a location where you are likely to step. So give yourself plenty of room. So this is our Ponard dredge, and you push in the pin so that it's suspended, and the suspension weight holds the pin in place. When it hits the bottom, the pin flies out again, and that allows the jaws to close. With everything secure, we're ready to take our sample. So we lift the dredge, make sure that the pin is in place, the jaws are open, and lower it into the lake. When that hits bottom, which you'll feel the tension go slack on the rope, you give it a gentle pull and then begin pulling it to the surface. Pull hand over hand, making sure that you don't jerk it around too much, and ideally what you'll get is a beautiful bite out of the lake floor, which you can then transfer into the next piece of equipment. Once you've brought your sample to the surface, you can lift it out and carefully open the jaws into your sieve bucket. This is a sieve bucket with a 0.5mm opening on the mesh, and we want to transfer as much of our sample as possible carefully into that bucket, being careful not to lose any of it. So wipe both sides of the jaws, wipe the bottom side, wipe the top side, look for any macroinvertebrates that may be stuck in there in the muck, and make sure that everything is back into that bucket. Once you've got to put that aside, then you can start to process your sample and remove as much of the mud as you can. This is the part of the procedure that is easy to mess up. It's tempting to pour water in the top and try to force the mud out the bottom, but that just plugs up all of the openings in the sieve. Instead, you need to bounce the bucket up and down on the surface of the water, forcing water up from the bottom and liberating your mud. Once you've successfully bounced your sieve up and down on the water surface, most of the mud will be in the water and your macroinvertebrates will be retained on the sieve. This is where you find your crayfish, for example, and you'll find your zebra mussels and other things that are part of your sample. All of the mud and fine particles is now in that water, and we can then take the fish box and rinse it in the lake, get out as much mud as possible, and critically important when working in lakes that have zebra mussels, sanitize all of your equipment before you use it in any other body of water.